Captain Sarah Chen pressed her palm against the cool metal of the observation deck's viewport, watching the stars streak past as the UES Prometheus cut through hyperspace. The Deep Space Patrol had been routine until 20 minutes ago, when the communications array picked up something that made her blood run cold. The distress signal came from the Kepler 442 system, transmitted on emergency frequencies in 17 different languages. Most were alien tongues that the ship's translation matrix barely recognized, but the message was clear enough. An entire star system was dying, and whoever lived there was begging for help. "Captain, we're receiving additional transmissions," Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez called from the communications station. "The signal is getting stronger as we approach the system's edge." Sarah turned from the viewport, her weathered face set in grim determination. At 42, she had seen enough of the galaxy to know that distress calls from unknown species usually meant trouble. But she had also seen enough of humanity to know they couldn't ignore someone crying for help. "Put it through the main speakers," she ordered. The bridge fell silent as alien voices filled the air, speaking in languages that sounded like music mixed with grinding metal. The translation matrix worked frantically, converting the desperate pleas into broken English. "Help us. Star is dying. Children cannot escape. Please, anyone. Our ship's too slow. Radiation increasing. Time running out." The voices overlapped, creating a chorus of desperation that made even the most hardened crew members shift uncomfortably. Sarah felt her jaw tighten. Whatever was happening in the Kepler 442 system, it was bad enough to drive multiple species to broadcast blind distress calls into the void. "Analysis, Mr. Kumar," she said, turning to her science officer. The young man's fingers danced across his console, pulling up stellar data that made his face pale. "Captain, the star is going through rapid expansion. Based on these readings, it's moving toward a nova event much faster than should be possible. The radiation levels in the inner system are already lethal to most carbon-based life forms." "How long do they have?" Kumar swallowed hard. "At this rate of expansion, maybe 72 hours before the habitable zones become completely uninhabitable." If the star actually goes nova, he didn't need to finish. Everyone on the bridge understood that a nova would sterilize everything within several light years. Sarah stared at the tactical display showing the Kepler 442 system. 3 planets showed signs of advanced civilization, with billions of life signs scattered across their surfaces. The distress signals were coming from all 3 worlds, along with what appeared to be a massive refugee fleet trying desperately to evacuate. "Captain," Rodriguez spoke up again, "I'm detecting human ships in the system." That got everyone's attention. Sarah spun around. "Human ships? What kind?" "Looks like a deep survey vessel and 2 escort frigates. They're not responding to our hails, but their transponders are active. It's the USS Horizon and escorts, part of the 7th Deep Space Survey Group." Sarah knew Commander Lisa Park, who captained the Horizon. They had served together during the Centauri border conflicts. Lisa was stubborn, brilliant, and had a habit of sticking her nose where it didn't belong if she thought she could help someone. "Set course for the Horizon's position, maximum speed," Sarah ordered, "and send a priority message to Earth Command. Tell them we have a first contact situation involving multiple alien species, a stellar emergency, and a potential humanitarian crisis." The Prometheus shuddered slightly as the engines pushed harder, racing toward a system where billions of beings were staring death in the face. Sarah knew that Earth's response protocols for this kind of situation were clear: observe, report, and avoid interference with alien civilizations. But those protocols were written by people who had never heard the sound of entire worlds crying for help. As they dropped out of hyperspace at the system's edge, the full scope of the crisis became apparent. The star, once a stable yellow dwarf similar to Earth's sun, was swelling like a balloon filled with nuclear fire. Solar flares erupted from its surface in massive arcs that stretched millions of kilometers into space, bathing the inner planets in deadly radiation. The 3 inhabited worlds were clearly dying. Atmospheric readings showed that the radiation was stripping away protective ozone layers, turning once blue skies into sickly yellow-green veils. The orbital stations around each planet were overloaded with refugees, their life support systems pushed far beyond safe limits. But it was the refugee fleet that took Sarah's breath away. Thousands of ships filled the space between the planets, everything from massive arc ships the size of small cities to tiny personal craft that looked like they were held together with hope and desperation. The designs were unlike anything in human databases, flowing and organic-looking vessels that seemed to have been grown rather than built. "My God," whispered Kumar from his station. "Look at the radiation readings from those ships. They're flying through levels that would kill a human in minutes." Sarah studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was moving slowly, painfully slowly, toward the outer system where the radiation levels dropped to merely dangerous instead of instantly lethal. At their current speed, most of them wouldn't make it before the star's next major flare cycle. "Where's the horizon?" she demanded. Rodriguez highlighted a section of the display. "There, Captain. They're moving toward the second planet." Sarah stared at the screen in disbelief. The horizon and its escorts were diving straight into the most dangerous part of the system, heading for a world that was being cooked by radiation. It was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, and knowing Lisa Park, it was probably both. "Get me Commander Park on the comm," Sarah ordered. It took several minutes to establish a connection through the interference from the dying star. When Lisa Park's face finally appeared on the main screen, she looked like she had aged 10 years in the past few days. Her usually pristine uniform was wrinkled, and exhaustion lined her features. "Sarah, thank God, another Earth ship," Lisa said, relief evident in her voice. "We've been here for 48 hours trying to coordinate evacuations, but we're running out of time." "Lisa, what the hell are you doing in there? The radiation levels will fry your ships." Lisa's expression hardened. "There are children down there, Sarah, millions of them. The aliens have some kind of radiation resistance, but it's not perfect. Their evacuation ships can't handle the current solar output, and their technology is failing." Sarah felt a familiar weight settle in her stomach. She had seen that look in Lisa's eyes before, during the Centauri crisis, when they had risked everything to evacuate a colony under attack. Lisa had a hero complex that was going to get her killed someday, but she had also saved more lives than anyone had a right to. "What's your plan?" Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "We've been using our ship's deflector arrays to create radiation shadows, giving their evacuation ships safe corridors to move through. But we can only cover small areas at a time, and we're taking heavy radiation exposure ourselves." Kumar pulled up the horizon's status on his console and whistled softly. "Captain, their radiation exposure is already at 70% of safe limits. Another few hours, and they'll start seeing cellular damage." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, weighing her options. Earth Command's protocols were clear, but so was her conscience. She opened her eyes and found her entire bridge crew watching her, waiting for her decision. "Rodriguez, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're assisting in humanitarian evacuation efforts under the Good Samaritan protocols." "Captain," Kumar said quietly, "Earth Command is going to want more than that. We're talking about revealing our technology to multiple alien species, potentially affecting the development of entire civilizations." Sarah turned to face her science officer. "Mr. Kumar, in 12 hours, this entire system might be a cloud of radioactive plasma. I think the normal rules don't apply anymore." She turned back to the view screen where Lisa Park was waiting. "All right, Lisa. We're coming in. Send us your evacuation grid and we'll take the third planet, but I want constant updates on radiation exposure for all human vessels." Lisa's tired face broke into a grateful smile. "I knew you'd come through, Sarah. The aliens are calling us Deathworlders because we can survive in conditions that kill most other species. They can't believe we're willing to fly into a radiation storm to help people we've never met." As the Prometheus changed course toward the third planet, Sarah wondered if the aliens were right. Maybe humans were crazy for rushing into deadly situations to help strangers. But as she listened to the continuing distress calls echoing through the ship's speakers, she realized she didn't care. The radiation storm that surrounded the dying star was just another challenge to overcome. The impossible evacuation timeline was just another problem to solve. And the fact that they were risking their lives for people they had never met was just what humans did. Sarah pressed her palm against the viewport again, watching the swollen red star grow larger as they approached the third planet. In a few hours, they would either be heroes or casualties. But right now, they were the only hope for billions of desperate souls trapped in a dying system. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, preparing for the most dangerous rescue mission any of them had ever attempted. Outside, the alien refugee fleet continued its slow journey toward safety, while human ships dove deeper into hell to give them a chance. It was going to be a very long day. The third planet of the Kepler 442 system was dying in spectacular fashion. Captain Sarah Chen watched through the main view screen as the Prometheus descended through an atmosphere that flickered with aurora lights caused by massive radiation bombardment. What had once been a garden world was now a hellscape of failing ecosystems and desperate evacuation efforts. "Radiation levels increasing," Kumar reported, his voice tight with concentration. "We're now at 30% of safe exposure limits and climbing." Sarah nodded grimly. The Prometheus was built to withstand the rigors of deep space, including radiation storms and solar flares, but nothing like this sustained bombardment. Still, they were holding together better than the alien ships struggling below them. The planet's surface was a patchwork of massive cities connected by flowing transportation networks that looked more like arteries than roads. The architecture was stunning, with towers that spiraled into the sky like frozen tornadoes and buildings that seemed to pulse with bioluminescent light. But now, many of those lights were flickering and going dark as power systems failed under the radiation assault. "Captain, I'm receiving communications from the surface," Rodriguez called out. "Multiple frequencies, multiple species. The translation matrix is working overtime." "Put them through." The bridge filled with voices speaking in musical tones, chittering sounds, and harmonics that made Sarah's teeth ache. Slowly, the translation matrix began converting the desperate pleas into broken English. "Sky ships of the warm bloods, we give thanks. Our children gather at evacuation sites. Radiation sickness spreads. Time grows short. Deathworld beings, your metal shells protect you where ours fail. Please help our young ones reach the Star Runners. We cannot believe. You fly through the deathlight to aid strangers. Your species must be blessed by the void itself." Sarah felt her throat tighten. The aliens weren't just asking for help. They were expressing amazement that humans would risk their lives for beings they had never met. She wondered what kind of galaxy they lived in, where such actions were so surprising. "Mr. Kumar, can you identify the species down there?" she asked. Kumar's fingers flew over his console, analyzing the communication patterns and energy signatures. "I'm detecting at least 4 distinct species, Captain. Based on their technology signatures, they appear to be primarily silicon-based life forms with some carbon hybrid elements. That would explain their limited radiation resistance. And their evacuation capabilities? Their ships are beautiful, Captain, but they're not built for this kind of emergency. They're designed for normal space travel, not flying through a radiation storm. Most of their vessels are shutting down after brief exposure to current solar output levels. Sarah studied the tactical display showing the planet below. Massive evacuation sites were scattered across the surface, each one crowded with millions of beings waiting for transport that might never come. The alien ships that were still functional moved in slow, careful patterns, evacuating small groups at a time while their systems struggled against the radiation. "Rodriguez, can you establish communication with the largest evacuation site?" Sarah asked. "Working on it, Captain." "Got it. You're speaking to what appears to be a coordinating authority." A new voice came through the speakers, deeper and more resonant than the others, with an underlying harmonic that suggested multiple vocal cords. "Warm blood vessel, I am Harmonizer Zekathai of the Confluence. Your arrival brings hope to our despair. We have cataloged your species' reputation as Deathworlders, but we did not expect such compassion." Sarah leaned forward. "Harmonizer Zekathai, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Prometheus. We're here to help with the evacuation. Can you provide us with priority lists and coordination data?" There was a pause, filled with background harmonics that sounded like multiple voices conferring. When Zekathai spoke again, there was wonder in the translated voice. "You would coordinate with us? Share your advanced protection systems to aid our people? The stories of Deathworlders spoke of your species' violence and danger, not your kindness." Sarah frowned. "What stories? We've never had contact with your people before." "The word spreads through the galaxy, Captain Chen. Ships that survive impossible conditions, beings who thrive in environments that kill others, warriors who fight with dedication that borders on madness. But none of the stories mentioned that Deathworlders would risk themselves for strangers." Kumar looked up from his console with a puzzled expression. "Captain, I'm detecting some familiar technology signatures mixed in with the alien systems. It looks like human technology, but modified." "Impossible. We've never been to this system before." "The signatures are definitely human in origin, but they've been integrated with alien systems in ways I've never seen. Someone has been sharing technology." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the radiation outside. If humans had been in contact with these species before, why wasn't there any record of it? And why would they have left technology behind but not established formal contact? "Zekathai, these stories about Deathworlders, where did they come from? Have your people encountered humans before?" Another pause, longer this time. When the harmonizer spoke again, there was uncertainty in the translated voice. "Not directly, Captain Chen, but there are tales. Ships with no life signs that appear at disaster sites. Technology left behind to help refugees. Rescues performed by beings who vanish before they can be thanked. We believed them to be myths until now." Sarah exchanged glances with her bridge crew. The implication was staggering. Had other human ships been operating in this part of the galaxy in secret? Were there rogue vessels helping aliens without authorization from Earth Command? "Captain," Rodriguez interrupted, "I'm receiving an urgent transmission from Commander Park on the horizon." Lisa Park's face appeared on a side screen, and she looked even more exhausted than before. Behind her, Sarah could see sparks flying from damaged control panels. "Sarah, we have a problem. The star's expansion is accelerating beyond our models. We're looking at complete stellar collapse within 8 hours, not 72. Sarah felt her blood turn to ice. 8 hours? That's not enough time to evacuate everyone. It gets worse. The aliens' main evacuation ships are failing faster than expected. Radiation is degrading their bio-neural networks. At current rates, we might save 10% of the population, maybe 15 if we're lucky. The bridge fell silent except for the continuous stream of alien voices begging for help. Sarah stared at the tactical display showing millions of life signs scattered across 3 worlds, most of them concentrated in evacuation sites that would become mass graves if they couldn't find a solution. "What about using our ships as radiation shields?" she asked. "Create larger shadow zones?" Lisa shook her head. "We're already doing that, but human ships weren't designed for this kind of sustained punishment. Our deflector arrays are overloading and hull integrity is starting to fail. We can maintain current operations for maybe 4 more hours before we have to pull back or lose the ships entirely." Kumar suddenly straightened at his console. "Captain, I might have an idea. The alien ships aren't failing because they're poorly designed. They're failing because the radiation is interfering with their bio-neural networks. But if we could create a stable electromagnetic field around their ships..." "Go on." "Our deflector technology could be modified to create EM field generators instead of just radiation shadows. We could protect their ship systems while they protect their crews. It would allow them to operate at full capacity instead of limping along." Sarah felt a spark of hope. "How long would it take to modify our deflectors?" 20 minutes to reprogram the arrays. But we'd need to coordinate with the alien ships to synchronize our field generators with their systems. And Captain..." Kumar hesitated. "This would require sharing our deflector technology with them. Earth command protocols strictly forbid technology transfer to uncontacted species." Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. She saw determination in their faces, the same expression she had seen during the Centauri crisis when they had saved thousands of lives by ignoring regulations. "Mr. Kumar, begin modifications to our deflector arrays. Rodriguez, establish direct communication links with alien evacuation ships. We're going to teach them how to survive in a radiation storm." "Captain," Kumar said quietly, "this isn't just bending the rules. We're talking about fundamentally altering first contact protocols, sharing military technology, and potentially changing the development of multiple alien civilizations." Sarah stood up from her command chair and walked to the view screen, watching another group of alien ships struggle through the radiation while their systems failed around them. Below, on the planet's surface, she could see the lights of the evacuation sites where millions waited for salvation that might never come. "Mr. Kumar," she said without turning around, "in 6 hours, this entire system is going to be a memory. The development of these civilizations won't matter if they're all dead. The protocols won't matter if we let billions of sentient beings die while we follow regulations." She turned to face her crew. "Anyone who wants to file a conscientious objector report with Earth Command is free to do so. But we're going to save every life we can, even if it costs us our careers." One by one, her bridge crew nodded their agreement. Kumar began working on the deflector modifications. Rodriguez opened communication channels with the alien ships. The weapons officer started calculating optimal field placement patterns. "Harmonizer Zekthai," Sarah said into the communications array. "We're going to share some of our technology with your evacuation fleet. We can teach your ships to survive the radiation, but you'll need to trust us and follow our instructions exactly." There was a long pause before Zekthai responded. "Captain Chen, such knowledge sharing is unprecedented. Why would your people give us such gifts when we have nothing to offer in return?" Sarah looked out at the dying star that was destroying 3 worlds and realized that her answer would define humanity's first impression on multiple alien species. "Because we can," she said simply, "and because everyone deserves a chance to live." The next few hours would determine whether her decision saved billions of lives or violated every principle that governed humanity's place in the galaxy. But as she watched the first alien ship successfully activate human-designed EM field generators and fly deeper into the radiation storm than ever before, Sarah knew she had made the right choice. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they were going to live up to their reputation in ways the galaxy had never imagined. 4 hours after the technology transfer began, the Kepler 442 system had transformed into the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Captain Sarah Chen watched in amazement as alien evacuation ships, now protected by human-designed electromagnetic field generators, moved through radiation levels that would have destroyed them hours earlier. The modification process had been anything but smooth. The alien bio-neural networks operated on principles that Earth scientists had only theorized about, using living tissue integrated with crystalline matrices to process information. Kumar had spent 2 hours just figuring out how to make human electromagnetic fields compatible with silicon-based technology. Captain, evacuation rates have increased by 400%, Kumar reported, exhaustion clear in his voice. The aliens are calling it a miracle. Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on the main display showing the dying star. The stellar collapse was accelerating even faster than Lisa Park's worst projections. Massive solar flares erupted every few minutes, each one larger than the last, bathing the inner system in deadly radiation that grew stronger by the hour. "How many people are still on the surface?" she asked. "Approximately 2 billion across all 3 planets," Rodriguez answered. "At current evacuation rates, we might save 80%, but Captain..." He hesitated. "The star isn't going to give us enough time. Current projections show stellar collapse in 90 minutes. The bridge fell silent. Even with their technological assistance, they were still going to lose hundreds of millions of lives. The alien voices on the communication channels had grown more desperate as their people realized that many evacuation sites simply couldn't be reached in time. "Captain," Kumar said suddenly, "I'm detecting something unusual. There are massive energy signatures appearing at the edge of the system." Sarah spun toward the tactical display. "What kind of energy signatures?" "Multiple hyperspace emergence points, big ones, and they're not showing up on any of our databases." The main view screen shifted to show the system's outer edge, where space itself seemed to be tearing open. Massive shapes began emerging from hyperspace, ships unlike anything in human or alien databases. They were enormous, easily 10 times the size of the largest human vessels, with hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Unknown vessels. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Prometheus," Sarah transmitted on all frequencies. "Please identify yourselves." The response came immediately, in perfect English with no trace of alien accent or translation matrix interference. "Captain Chen, this is Fleet Admiral Marcus Webb aboard the UES Titan. We received your emergency transmission and came as quickly as possible." Sarah stared at the view screen in shock. The UES Titan had been lost in the Vega system 3 years ago, with all hands. Admiral Webb was supposedly dead, along with his entire deep space fleet. "Admiral Webb, this is impossible. Your fleet was declared lost with all hands. You're supposed to be dead." A familiar laugh came through the speakers, the same laugh Sarah remembered from academy training exercises years ago. "Reports of our death have been greatly exaggerated, Captain. We've been operating in deep space, responding to situations exactly like this one." The massive ships moved into the system with impossible speed, their dark hulls shrugging off radiation that was lethal to every other vessel present. As they approached, Sarah could see that their design was unlike anything in the current Earth fleet. The technology looked decades ahead of anything she had seen. "Admiral, with respect, Earth Command has no record of your operations. Where have you been for 3 years? "That's classified, Captain. What matters right now is that we're here to help with the evacuation. My fleet can handle radiation levels far beyond what your ships can survive. We'll take the most dangerous rescue sites." Kumar looked up from his console with wide eyes. "Captain, those ships are showing technology signatures I don't recognize. Their power outputs are off the charts, and their hull composition is reading as some kind of advanced metamaterial. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. If Admiral Webb's fleet had been operating in secret for 3 years, with technology far advanced beyond anything Earth possessed, what exactly had they been doing? Admiral Webb, I need to know what's going on here. The aliens are calling us Deathworlders and saying there are stories about humans helping with disasters throughout the galaxy. They've found human technology integrated into their systems. Are you responsible for that? There was a pause before Webb responded. Captain Chen, I'm transmitting priority authorization codes. You're being temporarily reassigned to Deep Space Operations Command. Everything you're witnessing today is classified under the Galactic Protection Protocols. Sarah's command console chimed as the authorization codes arrived. She stared at them in disbelief. The codes were authentic, bearing signatures from officials so high in Earth's government that she had never even heard their names. Whatever operation Admiral Webb represented, it had approval from the very top of human leadership. The Galactic Protection Protocols? She asked. For the past 15 years, Earth has been quietly monitoring the galaxy for exactly this kind of crisis, Webb explained, as his massive ships moved toward the most heavily irradiated areas of the system. We've developed advanced technology specifically for disaster response, and we've been helping where we can without revealing our presence. Why the secrecy? Because the galaxy isn't ready for full contact with humanity, Captain. We're too different, too aggressive, too willing to take risks that other species consider suicidal. But we're also the only species capable of operating in environments that kill everyone else. So we help from the shadows, leave behind technology that saves lives, and let other species think of us as myths. Sarah watched as the massive human ships dove into radiation zones that had forced even the Prometheus to maintain safe distances. Their hulls seemed to absorb the deadly energy, converting it into power for their systems. How is that possible? She whispered. Kumar was frantically scanning the new ships with every sensor the Prometheus possessed. Captain, their hulls are somehow converting radiation directly into usable energy. It's like they're designed specifically for operating in deadly environments. That's exactly what they are, Webb confirmed. The Deathworld fleet exists for one purpose: to go places where no other ships can survive and save people who can't save themselves. Today, that means saving 3 billion alien civilians from a stellar disaster. The next hour was a masterclass in impossible rescue operations. Webb's ships moved through radiation that should have killed any living thing, their advanced technology creating safe corridors for the alien evacuation fleet. They coordinated with the modified alien ships Sarah's crew had equipped, creating a rescue network that covered all 3 dying worlds. The alien voices on the communication channels changed from desperation to wonder as rescue ship after rescue ship arrived at evacuation sites that had been written off as unreachable. The humans worked with cold efficiency, their ships shrugging off solar flares that would have vaporized any other vessel. Captain, Rodriguez called out, Harmonizer Zekthai is requesting to speak with you. The alien's harmonic voice filled the bridge, but now there was awe mixed with gratitude. Captain Chen, your people, they are not just Deathworlders, they are something else entirely. Your ships fly through conditions that would destroy our strongest vessels. Your people risk everything for strangers. What manner of beings are you? Sarah looked at Admiral Webb's ships as they dove deeper into the radiation storm, rescuing the last groups of survivors from the planet's surface. She thought about the stories the aliens had heard, the myths of mysterious saviors who appeared at disasters and vanished without explanation. We're humans, Zekthai, she said simply. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We learned to survive by helping each other, even when it meant risking our own lives. I guess that's just who we are. Your species saves others even when they cannot save themselves, Zekthai said. In our language, there is no word for such behavior. We will have to create one. The rescue operation concluded just as the star finally collapsed into a white dwarf, releasing a final burst of energy that sterilized everything within 5 light years. But by then, every living being in the system had been evacuated to safety, transported to colonies light years away where they could rebuild their civilizations. Admiral Webb's ships prepared to depart as quickly as they had arrived, their advanced stealth systems already beginning to mask their presence from alien sensors. "Captain Chen," Webb said over a private channel, "you and your crew have been inducted into the Deep Space Operations Command. Your actions today proved that humanity is ready for the next phase of galactic engagement." "What happens now?" Sarah asked. "Now, you continue your normal patrol duties, but with new authorization codes and access to emergency protocols. When disaster strikes somewhere in the galaxy, Earth's Deathworld fleet responds. And sometimes, we'll need ships like yours to serve as the public face of our operations." Sarah looked out at the alien refugee fleet, thousands of ships carrying 3 billion survivors to safety. In the distance, she could see alien vessels trying to analyze the electromagnetic field technology her crew had shared, already beginning to adapt it for their own ships. "The galaxy thinks we're myths," she said. "Let them," Webb replied. "It's easier to help people when they don't expect anything in return. But today, Captain, today we showed them what humans are really capable of, and I think the galaxy is going to be a very different place because of it." As the Prometheus prepared to depart the system, Sarah received a final transmission from harmonizer Zekthai. The alien's musical voice was filled with harmonics she had never heard before, complex tones that the translation matrix identified as a new form of deep gratitude. "Deathworlders, your actions today will be remembered in the songs of our children and our children's children. We will tell them that when our worlds were dying, beings from a distant star came through the darkness to carry us to safety. We will tell them that somewhere in the galaxy, there are people who risk everything for strangers, who fly through death itself to preserve life." Sarah smiled as the Prometheus jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind a system where 3 billion beings would live because humanity had answered their call for help. The galaxy thought humans were dangerous, violent Deathworlders who survived where others died. They had no idea how right they were. But they also had no idea that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their ability to survive impossible conditions. It was their willingness to risk everything to make sure others survived too. As the stars streaked past the view screen, Sarah realized that the age of human myths was just beginning. And across the galaxy, species that had never heard of Earth would soon learn that when disaster struck, the Deathworlders would come, whether they were ready or not.